My friendship of 11 years is falling apart. I think I need to cut ties with her.
She's the problem, not me.
This requires a bit of a backstory, so sorry for the long post. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, smiley face. I, female 20, have been friends with Jay, male 21, let's say James, for 11 years. We met in school in year 5, ages around 9 to 10. Around the same time, we also had a friend, F, female 20, let's call that Frankie, who joined our school slightly later due to bullying in her previous school. By the way, this comes from user alertbutterfly2217, and you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. From 9 to 16, we three were inseparable. Like every lesson and waking hour was spent with or talking to each other in some form. Other friends joined at points, but we were swiftly kicked out oftentimes because Frankie had argued with them about something petty that schoolgirls usually argue over. Being left out of sleepovers or just not getting on with Frankie. I would occasionally argue with Frankie, but we were both strong-willed and quite stubborn people, which would later be the downfall of our friendship. In sixth form in the UK, this is ages 16 through 18, junior and senior year of high school for reference, Frankie decided to move schools, so me and James were heartbroken and worried our tight-knit group would start to fade. I will admit, I was partially excited with sixth form. This means parties, opportunities to mix with people we hadn't yet and had a chance to. I haste to say that Frankie didn't let us, as we did stick to our trio, but she did make it incredibly difficult to branch out. A few new people joined mine and James's friend group at school. We had a group of about 5 of us, with Frankie included. We always tried to make our best to make her part of our plans where it was possible. Frankie really didn't like one of these people, a girl called L, Lizzie, female 20, and would constantly itch and say she was trying to steal me and James from her. Lizzie was and still is my best friend. She's in no way a bad person. Fast forward to university, we all split and move across the country to our various universities. James decided to host me and Frankie to come down for a few days to his university, and whilst we're there, Frankie immediately starts to flirt with James's housemate. No biggie. I have James. James comes down with the flu the next day, and I'm left third wheeling with them. Slightly annoying, but whatever. She spends the night with this guy, again. No judgment, I really don't care. Get your freak on, Frankie. And she and him are loudly having spicy sleep, which we can hear from 2 doors down. So she really got her freak on. She wakes us up at 6 a.m. An hour before I'm up to catch my train home and is loudly talking about the whole event. I got on the train, miffed, to be honest, because for separate reason, it wasn't the best weekend. Frankie gets close to Lizzie, and Lizzie tells me she's not free to meet up one day. An hour later, I get a snap of her and Frankie together. This is the only time Lizzie is mentioned in a negative light. University was tough at this point, and seeing them together was the final straw. I cried to my parents, who told me to block them both. So I did. James's birthday is a few weeks after this, and he wants to do a big gathering, Frankie and Lizzie included. I unblock them both and attend the drinks. Frankie tells me over text she has missed me. I apologize and say I missed her too. When we meet up, she doesn't acknowledge me at all. And after going to a couple of bars, she starts shouting at me whilst we're smoking, telling me how she had unaliving thoughts and wanted to drop out and that it's all my fault. I was baffled. I legitimately had only blocked her 2 weeks ago. Frankie says, I don't know what she's been through, and I argue back that she never once asked how I was, and therefore could not speak. I was feeling the exact same, by the way. Somehow, we reach a stalemate and agree to move on from here. I don't think you should move on from here. That's a weird thing to move on from. That's a very serious conversation to have with your friend that you so care about, it seems like. A couple months later, me, James, Frankie, and her boyfriend, surprisingly James's housemate from before, decide to go clubbing, and she spends the evening telling me how much she missed me and wanted to be my friend again. I agreed. Lizzie told me the next day that Frankie had said that she only agreed to be neutral for James's sake. Yikes. Cut to summer. James invites me over for drinks. Me and Lizzie are still close as ever, and Frankie isn't speaking to me, but is insulting me to Lizzie, which Lizzie is then telling me. Don't you just love that? Frankie's your best friend and misses you so much that she's going to talk behind your back to one of your closest friends too? James tells me last minute that Frankie will be there too. Cue to me sobbing to my parents. I decide to go, and I'm going to brave it. Me and Frankie are shockingly getting on. She's talking about her boyfriend, and I am in turn trying to relate. typical undiagnosed neurodivergence, by speaking about the guy I'm currently talking to as well. She leaves and I stay with James. Lizzie tells me that Frankie's been saying that I only spoke about a guy I'm not even dating and that she couldn't get a word in edgeways. Blah, 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 blah. She's still itching about me to Lizzie from August to December. Shock, horror. James invites me to his for Halloween. I make a few mistakes and I'm so embarrassed I profusely apologize to him both that night and also over text once I'm back home. Okay. In December, I text James asking if he wants to meet up for a couple of drinks for his birthday. First round on me type vibes. And he says he is busy with family, so no. Not a long message. It was more dry and it hurt my feelings a bit. I only got more hurt seeing that James and Frankie were out clubbing together in our hometown. And at this point, I still assumed that Frankie actually partially liked me. LOL. OP, what are you doing? Why are you still seeing Frankie in the limelight? Why do you think Frankie's still your friend after she's talking mad crap about you? You're kind of being an a-hole to yourself by like not confronting her about any of this. It kind of you're irking me. So you got to call out your friends. They're your friends. You can communicate. Oh, well, Frankie, I don't know about Frankie, but you got to communicate. And also, we don't know if Lizzie's talking behind your back. I don't like that. A few months later, minimal contact with Frankie and James is slipping off the radar. I am home for Easter, and James refuses to see me again. This is fine. People get busy. I don't think that's him getting busy. James comes to my birthday this summer. Our whole friend group, including Frankie, were invited. Frankie speaks to Lizzie and goes, "Why the F would she even invite me to her crappy birthday?" And at this point, I sense she's deliberately saying these things to Lizzie, knowing she'll come straight to me. At my party, James tells me, "Frankie doesn't want anything to do with you or even to be in your vicinity," which is tough to hear from someone you consider a best friend like Frankie. Just message and tell me this. Again, Frankie is not your best friend. Stop saying she's your best friend. You keep enabling that in your brain. She's not your friend. She's talking so much crap about you and making your life so miserable. James and I agree this won't affect our friendship and agree we'll try to see each other over this Christmas, hence calling it a joint custody friendship. LOL. I wasn't sure how else to word it. Lizzie and me are speaking, and she says that Frankie has recently said to her that I forced her to be bi. In school, me and James both came out, and she followed suit a couple years later because she said she felt the same way. No judgment if this changed because, again, I'm not really fussed. Like, who are you? Do whatever you want. And she felt pressured into kissing me, which I will say on record, that was never true. If and when we kissed, she initiated, and she wanted me to be her first kiss. Okay? I just think Frankie doesn't like you. Just get away from her. I will admit, I reacted immaturely here, but I had been patient with how she'd spoken about me for too long, and I finally snapped, so I left our friend group chat. I posted on my TikTok something to the wording of, "When you find out someone has accused you of forcing them to be bi, and they kiss you." I think it was to be the backstabber audio, but I can't remember. Frankie sees I've left the group chat. She then checks my TikTok, and she messages Lizzie, who is also sick of her crap at this point, by the way. I receive a long message from her saying goodbye, essentially, and that we apparently both know we're in the wrong. And she's just trying to do this to rile me up. I decide to hold fire and reply in the morning when I am sober, as I had been drinking with Lizzie when she told me this. I respond back essentially noting down everything I have written here, saying that I am not sorry and refuse to take equal joint responsibility for this crap show. And once again, I will go on record to say I really, really tried. At this point, she blocked me everywhere, so I couldn't send her a response. Yeah, no way you're getting the final word, B-word. Sorry, not sorry. So I logged into an old Instagram account, copy-pasted the message, said that I respected her not wanting to be involved with me ever again, but that she needed to read this. Why? Just stop talking to her.
I think he's just trying to get the last win, like the last leg up. Like, oh, you think so? No, I can do it.
That's all it is. It's a petty argument between these two. That was August. Fast forward to now. I'm currently actually writing this on James's birthday, but have been thinking about it for the past week. Once again, I messaged James and asked if we wanted to meet for drinks. Initially, he sent a long message saying maybe if he's free. I told him there's no pressure if not. He then responded with a very short message saying that he's sorry, but it ain't gonna happen. So I was like, Oh, okay, sick. No worries, lol. 4 days ago, his B-roll was him at Frankie's house,
Uh-oh.
drinking together. And this is what led me to my question. Would I be the a-hole for cutting off a friend of 11 years because our joint custody friendship isn't working? You can have your joint custody with us by going on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, searching OK Storytime, and listening to stories just like this one. Maybe better stories because OP doesn't understand what they're doing. Just cut it off. They're not your friends. I don't know what you think. Like you've been thinking, oh yeah, they talk behind my back. They hang out behind my back. Those aren't your friends. You should have been done with these people a long time ago, especially
Yeah.
Frankie. You're being the a-hole right now.
You really are.
James has been caught in the crossfire, but he's equally not making much effort to try and still be my friend. Just stop! Oh my God, you're defending him. I can't help but feel that despite saying at my birthday he wouldn't pick sides, he has, in fact, chosen a side. This is okay, but I would rather he told me straight up than leave me guessing. I'm sorry if it's so long. I feel like I partially needed to vent the situation anonymously, as well as ask if I would be the a-hole for cutting his friendship off. Edit. Just wanted to add that throughout all of this, James has been on the sidelines, not really telling either of us to stop fighting. That's your edit to add? He's picked a side, girl.
Yeah.
OP, he's picked a side.
Yeah. Just-
He's avoided you so many times, like, oh, I can't get drinks with you. And then you see on his story that he's getting drinks with Frankie.
Come on, dude. OP, I understand you want them back in your life, but you have to accept that these are the things that are, this is what's just going to happen. And just move on.
Thank you. Just let him go.
Yeah.
I'm scared that Lizzie's going to join their friend group. And then you have no friends.
Yeah.
But in this story, OP, you kind of were the a-hole. They were a-holes, but all of your a-holes.
Yep. Everyone. And
Communicate. Okay.
just let James be, okay? Stop bickering at him. Let him be.
And that's the end of that story and the end of this episode. So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you.
And see you tomorrow.